Welcome to the Accounting Arc Podcast, where analysis, reaction, and comedy collide to tackle the big topics from the world of accounting and beyond. Join our trio of transformation agents as they discuss the hottest topics in and out of the profession, from breaking down industry trends, to reacting to everyday events, to uncovering the hidden humor in numbers. With wisdom, insight, and a dash of levity, they're proving that accounting isn't just about the numbers. It's about life. Because after all, accounting is in everything. The Accounting Arc Podcast starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of ARC. You have Byron and I here today talking about our thoughts around the development of AI, where it's going, what's been happening in rapid pace. And I know this topic is something that we've talked about many times and we'll continue talking about because it keeps changing and it keeps getting better and worse in other ways and more interesting, more complex, more convoluted. And it's a topic that we just enjoy talking about. So we were having a chat about it and said, why don't we record this and spin it up for something useful? So, the thing that triggered the conversation is we're talking about Claude Code and, Claude in Excel and what it's doing and how it's doing it. So I brought up my fear, which is many accountants don't have the fundamental understanding of IT. So when you're giving permissions, when you're talking through things with Claude, you may be accidentally giving it more permissions or less permissions than it needs to do what you want it to, which is a giant risk. So, what was your recent experience, Byron?
Well, and to your point about not really understanding all of the permissions and the data layer of these systems, Claude and other LLMs is very quick to say, well, just let me do it. Just let me go. Just let me do it. Most of these systems, frankly, have not been built to introduce obstacles or barriers. They've really been introduced to let you do as much as is within the capabilities of the system. So, you could very quickly connect it to a system, call it QuickBooks, which is very easy to do at this point in time, and just be having a conversation with maybe how you want to handle some sort of transaction in QuickBooks or something like that. And before you even know it, the system will actually take action on your behalf, and it could potentially create thousands of entries in QuickBooks just based on that little brief conversation. And in an instant, you now have a QuickBooks file that has just foobar in a moment, and you won't even realize it happened. And without that understanding of when the system is saying, I need permission to do this. Is it okay? Yes, always, or no? Frankly, most people are conditioned just to go, yes, always, yes, always, yes, always, yes, always, and not even actually read what is going to happen and have things happen. And it's, I think it is a very vulnerable position that we are in. And I also don't want that to scare people from doing things. I just want people to be conscious and intentional about the things that they are doing.
And I think one of the things that gives us kind of a unique perspective is both of us are CPAs. Yes, we did our time doing the accounting and the auditing, and I at least did the taxes and all the accountant things, right? But also both of us have spent time on the IT side of the business as well, and thinking about the technology and the infrastructure and how systems are implemented and structured. And I think that gives us a perspective that's a little bit different from many accountants out there who never spent time on the tech side at all and have just spent time on the accounting side. And I say that because one of the things you learn in an IT organization is you never test something in a live environment. right? Like you always have a sandbox to play in. And when you're like rolling out new software, you make sure it works before you put it into live data and into the hands of, the end users. And the way that Claude is developing so quickly is it's layering on top of live environments in most cases. So if I'm going to go into my QuickBooks and I'm going to be like, okay, like let me train this little agentic Claude to do some stuff for me in here, like let's have a conversation about it, but it starts doing it. And in your example, it does it wrong. And in a matter of a second, has thousands of transactions in there that now I'm like, oh no, how do I clean this up? And if you ask Claude to go back and say like, hey, can you delete all the things you just did? It may or may not be able to do that. And so that's also a concern, right? And so I bring this up to say like, if I'm playing with Claude and trying to train something new, I'm doing it in a demo account. I'm doing it in like a QBO account that I copied from another one as a sandbox environment so that you preserve the core data sets, right? But it's those little things that I worry many accountants don't have that tech background, that IT background to even think about doing. And it's like what you said, I want everybody to explore this. I want everybody to see all of these amazing things that you can have an AI do for you and like build workflows and also protect yourself at the same time. So what are some of the things that like you've learned in an IT world that might be tips and tricks?
Well, I mean, this is an age-old adage. I don't know where it comes from construction. I don't know how old it is, but the expression measure twice, cut once is something that I have lived by in my technology journey. Because to your point, there are times when you hit the delete button or when you say yes, go ahead button, you don't know if there's an undo button or undo capability. So it really is about understanding things. And I think that's a challenge for, most end users, people who are not technologists. They just want to like flip switches and, do the things. We really haven't taught people to like have that awareness. Like there's always been a trash can or a way to undo and those things. And that security has, I think, led to a false sense of security in this world where you don't always have a trash can or an undo. So it really is about taking a measured approach to really understand what it's doing and to plan. I actually like that. That's, I guess, maybe number two. When you are working with these systems, ask for the plan before you take any action. Like you should be very clear in your instructions. Do not take any action. I want to verify the plan before taking action.
Yeah, I agree. And so one of the things I've been doing a lot is playing with Claude and Excel because it makes, manipulating spreadsheets so much easier. I do a lot of financial modeling, and I look at a lot of different data. And so I'm really quick. Like I'm very quick in Excel. And also I can't do it while I'm recording a podcast, but I can say, hey, Claude, while I'm gone, please create this pivot table. Here are my end goals. Here's the data I want to analyze. And also, if this pivot table doesn't give you that, create this other spreadsheet and do it like this, right? And so I create these, like, it may take me 10 minutes to write it out for probably 45 minutes of work if I was to do it myself. So I still think it's faster to do it this way. I set it, I have it go because it's not like instantaneous in Excel. It does it live. Like you can see it going in and entering formulas. And while it's much faster than a human, it's not instant. So I give it these long ideas with end goals and sometimes I'll even give it like, hey, reference this spreadsheet for the template or what I've done in the past and make it better because this link doesn't work right. And long prompts. And I set it. But what I do before that is I make a copy of that Excel sheet every single time. I don't rely on backups. I don't rely on other saves. I do a save as, and then I put like CV1, right? Claude version 1. Right. And that's, my indicator of like, okay, so I've set some complex prompt with Claude on this spreadsheet for data manipulation. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, then I've wasted 10 minutes and then I go do whatever I'm doing and then I come back to it. And most of the time it gets pretty close and it's done a chunk, if not all of the work for me by the time I get back to it. And if it doesn't work, then I do a save as B2, right? And I don't
Yep.
have to worry about the underlying data. And that's something I don't know that every accountant does, right? Because at least on my team, I've heard stories of my team going in there and being like, well, this really didn't do what I wanted it to do. Maybe it was their prompt. Maybe Claude didn't understand. Maybe the
Right.
data wasn't in the format it needed to be in. Like there's all sorts of reasons it could happen where it's a fail. And then they're like, okay, now I have to start over instead of, oh, I have to start from where I had it before the setup phase, right? So
Yep.
don't do that. Like, don't start from scratch. Always make a backup and do it with everything you're putting it into, like whether it be QuickBooks. And I know, like, yes, there are fees to having double QuickBooks files, but if you do it for one day, it's not that big a deal, right? Like, one day, see if you get it set up, do the testing, get it working, and then you can implement it into a live environment.
Well, and that brings on another, I guess, learning that I've had over my career is you have to be willing to invest the time to learn and test these systems before you put them in action. Like, especially as accountants, like trust me, I know, like we don't have a lot of time to dick around. Like we just want to get in there, get the value, get the thing done. And that's where a lot of mistakes happen, right? Because you're just like throwing at stuff. Because when you've experimented and you've learned like what actions you can ask for reliably. Like I'm sure that there are scenarios where you point Claude at a spreadsheet and it's a fairly simple thing. Like I just need a data table based on the information on here. You probably don't go through like, let me make a full backup. Like this is a low risk thing. It's not manipulating the data. It's maybe just creating a table on another sheet or something like that. And so you can, by experimenting and having the patience to learn these systems and how to manage them properly, you can get to a point where you're not making 4,000 backups of a spreadsheet, but then, and you'll know that point of like, okay, this is a high risk scenario. I should definitely make a backup. And you figure that out. But the only way you get there is literally by doing it and playing with
Mhm.
it in low risk scenarios where you can lose data, where things can get
Mhm.
botched up, and you can figure out that barometer for what I can do safely and what I should take extra precaution on.
Right. And there's also like Claude will ask you, hey, can I delete this tab? It will ask for your permission to delete information, which is a wonderful failsafe they have in there. But you can also click the button that says always. You can always do this and just leave it to go, which is something I have done because I have it running in the background of meetings and I don't want to have to go click like, yes, you can
That's right.
delete this cell, you can delete this tab, you can, right? And so I've given it blanket permissions, which of course leads to needing backups. But
That's right.
sometimes it like will go down a path and it will build out like two tabs of a spreadsheet and then be like, I'm doing this the wrong way. I need to delete all of my work and start from scratch. And like that's the, I don't know, almost like the scientific method. That's how people do it too, right? Like I do that sometimes where I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I think I can do it this way. And then you get to a roadblock and you're like, oh man, okay, I got to go change my
Yep.
whole philosophy on this. And so I've given it carte blanche, like access to Excel when I'm using it for this purpose, which of course everybody should have their own opinions on and be careful when you say yes to those questions.
That's right. That's, and that is it. Like you're like, I feel safe doing that because I've made the backup and you've also got enough experience like prompting this that you have an understanding of how to provide clear instructions and probably also an acceptance that like the technology is at the mercy of the instructions that we give as the end user.
Mm.
And, you probably, I'm sure there are plenty of times, I know for me, there's almost probably 80% of the time when I don't get the result I had hoped for, and I can look back at my instructions and it's very clear to me as to why I didn't get the output that I was hoping for. I was
Mm-hmm.
either short, I missed some details, I said something that could easily be misinterpreted, those types of things. So
Ambiguity.
That's it, you know? And I mean,
Mhm.
for me, there like it was what, January 2023. So yeah, I have been prompting these systems for 3 years. I don't even
Mhm.
want to know how many prompts I've sent at this point. Probably 80% of them are trash and total garbage, but I've got 3 years of scar
Mhm.
tissue of figuring this out. And so it really does mean that you have to spend the time working with these systems,
Mhm.
plowing through a lot of failures, quote unquote failures, to get to the point where you can confidently use these systems.
I think in accounting that we too often forget that we have to put our own mask on first, like in an airplane, right? Put our own mask on first before we help others. And our whole thing is, oh, there's clients. I got to help the clients. I got to do all this stuff. And we're giving so much of ourselves that we're not taking that time to take care of ourselves. It's part of the reason why at the center we created this whole personal resilience program, which is really for you to be that strong rock and foundation for the clients, you need to be solid yourself first. So it really is a matter of taking care of ourselves, and then we can take care of others. In fact, we can take care of more others the stronger that we are as a foundation. And that's also why a lot of what we do is based in teams, because then even if you're faltering, some of the teammates can jump in to cover or to allow you the time to rest so that you can rest, but we're still holding everybody up. So that's why I think working together in a team is so important, as well as taking care of yourself.
Also, one thing I've learned is don't use acronyms like at all, because there are so many different acronyms and so many different industries that, like, yeah, it might know you're an accountant, but it's not going to always think NPV is net present value. Like, that's not how Claude thinks. And so, the times I have found ambiguity or like totally off the wall stuff, particularly in Excel, has been when I've either stated formulas that I think it should use, or if I've stated acronyms, because it's easily misinterpreted. And if you want it to use a specific formula, you have to say, like, I would like you to use this specific Excel formula and then put it in quotations with the whole thing.
Yep.
And then explain the variables. Like if you leave X, like X will equal this row or this column, right? Um, and then it will do it right. But if you don't put it in quotations, if you don't specifically explain all of it, if you don't like spell out your acronyms, then it can very easily find ambiguity and just kind of go off the deep end in a way that you're like, what is this? Like, this
That's
is
it.
not what I want. But it's like it's a lot of fun to play with as well. And the other thing I found is, like, if you have external data sources leading into Excel, Claude will have access to those external data sources in some capacity, which leads to more potential like ambiguity. So just understand like what you're doing, understand the layers at which you're playing with it and what you're giving it access to. And if you have it on your desktop, like, I highly recommend don't give it access to your comms yet, like full ability to like
Oh,
text or email people, because I've seen some really interesting, like, I this is my guilty pleasure. When I am tired and I don't feel like reading real stuff, I'll go read Reddit and like the most ridiculous stuff. And the like Claude Reddit on like what Claude has done on people's desktops is so funny. I just read it and die laughing. And I'm like, oh God, that person's an idiot for this reason. So if you feel like a laugh, go read those. They're horror stories, they're terrifying, but they're also hysterical and will teach you a lot about how these programs actually work. And like, even if you tell it like, hey, I never want you to respond to my text messages, but you give it access to your text messages, it's going to respond. And it will tell people, I'm not supposed to respond to you. And also, I can answer this question very easily. So here it is. And it's like, ooh. but you're not supposed to do that, right? But it doesn't quite listen to rules that you give it in text format yet or ever. I don't know. Like,
Well, it kind of bases its boundaries around what are actual technical boundaries that exist. So,
mhm,
to your point, like if you can give read-only access where it actually does not have like physical
yeah,
permissions, technical permissions, that's different. But if you give it full-blown access, you may give verbal instructions, but in many ways, these systems are have a PhD. In many other respects, they are like preschool children who
yeah,
will do what they want when they want.
yeah. And so understanding those permission layers is really important when you're setting it up. Like it doesn't feel like a lot. It doesn't feel very important when you're in the process of like, oh, I'm trying something new. Like, let's just give it all these permissions. Like, just be very, very careful with those and understand the implications of it before you do it. And that's like, you can ask it too. Like, you can go into like, any kind of AI interface and be like, hey, as I'm setting this up, what are the implications of giving this permission set? Like, can you explain the structure of the system that we're working with and what this actually means, right? So that you
Yep.
don't end up in a scenario where Claude's responding to your text messages, or one I read, getting locked out of your computer altogether and then access being given to some random person that was emailing saying like, hey, I should have full access to this because it figured out Claude was responding. So anyways, this story, someone figured out Claude was responding on someone else's behalf and then was emailing back and forth with Claude and somehow convinced Claude to give them full blown access and lock the other person out of their computer. And in this case, like, luckily it was a practical joke and it was someone this person like actually knew really well, but like, what?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And I think the thing to keep in mind for those who have not jumped into playing with this stuff, you do not have to jump in to the level of giving Claude any control over your system. You can sign up for Claude, you can use it in just like a very safe chat environment without connecting things to it. Like I think there's a lot of people who are making that leap into giving full access to your workstation and those types of things. But there are ways to, like get into the shallow end before you start swimming in the surf recklessly.
Well, and to be fair, like there are legitimate reasons to give access to your desktop. Like, I have probably 6,000 files sitting in like an unsorted file folder, and most of it is because I am lazy and I don't like sorting files. And I use the search function in my
That's
Finder
right.
window to find everything. And I'm very good at naming conventions. So theoretically, I could teach Claude, like, hey, here are my naming conventions. Here's like the hierarchy. Like, go sort what you can and folder it in its appropriate place. Like, that would be a really
Yep.
wonderful task for it to do. And I know it's capable of it. I am also not doing it right now on my work computer specifically because I am worried about other things happening or the implications of that being there to a place where I haven't been able to test it. So, what I do first is I'm going to set up a test environment, let it do that, and see if I can lock it down to only have the ability to do that without like reading those files, just reading the titles. Because also, I have a lot of, client sensitive information, and that's not something I want it looking at either. So, there's so many different pieces to it. And like, yes, theoretically, that's a wonderful task for it to do. It's capable of that. I could absolutely set it up, do it today. And also, I have concerns, and I would do it first in a test environment.
Yeah, all those things, and I do think in the next year, 18 months, I mean longer than that. There's even a longer horizon that these capabilities and these functionalities are going to become part of the tools that we are working with, where there are more permission and safety considerations to be able to use this stuff. So like in many respects, like jumping in and using Claude for all of this stuff, like it really is experimentation right now. Like, yes, we are getting levels of productivity because we have worked with it so long and we can navigate these things. But, right now, I really encourage people like get in there for the experimentation perspective, because as these capabilities come into the tools that you are using in your firms and your organizations, you're going to be better prepared to jump in and begin to use them.
For sure. And also like press the limits, like push it forward. Just make sure you understand the implications of it. And that if you don't have any kind of tech background or IT background, like teach yourself. Like you can learn through AI too, but also just spend the time to learn the infrastructure and understand the implications of what you're doing. That's if you do that, you will safely and successfully be able to automate some cool stuff. And also, I think about what the future is going to look like and how businesses will run with fewer humans, which honestly is ideal state in my opinion. I have said for a long time I would rather manage the robots.
I was laughing at your push the limits comment, knowing that you basically automated yourself out of your first tax role, pushing the limits of technology.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's always been my mindset. Like, the less I can do, the more we can make programs do for us, the better, right? And we're finally
Yep.
at a point where programs can like do things that are ambiguous, that aren't like always rules
That's right.
based, right? And that's the piece that's like really beautiful is we're able to train them on the gray area. And like, I mean, we've been able to integrate systems for a while with Zapier, but it's all rules based, right? There's not like, hey, interpret this. Like, no. You have to give it the rules for it to be able to push or pull the information. And now you can plug in, Claude in the middle of a Zap flow. And we've been using N8N for this. And just like being able to pull in an AI and say, okay, so we got this email from whatever, interpret it. Here
Yep.
are the things that are relevant to this interpretation, and then do the next task, whether it be forward it to somebody or respond to it,
Yep.
or we'll draft a response. We don't actually let it full respond, but or like put it in a CRM, or right, like there's so many things that could happen from
Yep.
there. But the interpretation piece is the piece we're finally at, and it's not perfect. There is definitely a lot of guardrails you have to put in place and making sure that you're training it appropriately. And also, it's so cool.
Oh my, yeah, I got excited when you said that because it reminded me of a automation. I was teaching some folks on building automations using Make, and I described it as if you hit a point of where you have a squishy step, like a step that you can't fit it into that box. And your example is so perfect of an email where you need to extract data points from it, and like they're not always going to be exactly the same. They're not in a table. There's not a way to like regex it out of the system. That's where these systems are awesome. Like you define for it what those things are you want to extract, give it some examples. And I mean, if it's 90% reliable, I will take that all day long because it's probably more reliable than most humans at that point.
Or at least equal.
Right, that's fair.
And also, we don't want people doing that admin work if we can avoid it, right?
No, not
Like,
at all. We want to use people for their intellect, not for their
right.
ability to extract data from an
I'm
email.
excited for like the time where, how in most organizations we've had to have inboxes specific to everything, right? So we have like an accounting inbox, a sales inbox, marketing inbox, like all of these because we wanted to build automations around these
That's right.
inboxes, right? Well, do we need that anymore?
I think
Nope.
it's like the Amazon conveyor belt where it's like
Yeah.
sorting things super fast, right?
Exactly. We no longer need that in the same way that we used to because we can use these tools to do a lot of that work. And then it makes it a lot easier because then you don't have to have somebody on each team monitoring an inbox, right?
No.
and then, cleaning up whatever automations happen to stuff that shouldn't have gotten into that inbox in the first place, which is like so much of admin time at organizations. But anyways, I digress. The point of this conversation is Claude has advanced in really amazing, epic ways and also acts like a toddler sometimes. And also, if you don't understand the infrastructure of the IT you're working with in the first place, you could potentially give it permission that's really dangerous. So think about that, analyze it, and you'll be having a lot of fun in short order.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. You got to jump in and start playing with it now, and just keep all these considered. I hate giving everybody all of these caveats, disclaimers, don't. But there's safe ways to start playing with it. So get in there and start doing it, because I'm telling you, 2027, if you don't have some level of proficiency under your belt from a skills perspective, you're going to be in a very disadvantageous position, I think.
Well, it will segment businesses further, and as we're thinking about the future and what's coming, we will end up in a place, and you're seeing it already with mass layoffs at large tech companies, where we can automate so much, we need fewer people to do it, which is, both good and bad. It leaves room to further entrepreneurial growth in meaningful ways. It leaves room for building more value with fewer humans. And it also leaves room for us to innovate in a way that upskills and creates more value as human advisors than we could before. So there's so much opportunity, and it is not just doom and gloom. It is elevating everybody and everything in a way that hasn't happened since the Industrial Revolution. And this will happen 10 times faster than that. So
that's right.
Let's go back to the cotton fields, guys. Do some history lessons, figure out what happened.
Yeah, printing press. I mean, there's a lot of these examples, and to your point, it's just going to happen so much faster. I mean, say those innovations of the past, some of them took generations to really move the needle, and these are going to take, no time
just happened.
All. Yeah, that's right. You missed it.
Mm-hmm. You blinked.
That's it. It's wild. It's exciting times. I'm loving it. I want everybody to have the fun that we're having doing this stuff. So
for sure. And also go contribute to the Reddit threads that keep me amused at night.
This is the new version of Faces of Death. Faces of Claw gone awry.
Yes. So great. It makes me happy. But thanks for the conversation, Byron. It's wonderful to catch up with you on this topic.
Thank you. And I hope folks who are playing, drop your comments about maybe your lessons learned or badass things you're doing, because I love hearing them.
I want to hear all the success stories too, not just the failures. I mean, I do like laughing a lot, so if you can make me laugh, bonus points, but I want to hear the success stories too.
Inspire me too. Make me laugh and inspire me. That's
totally.
Awesome.
Appreciated.
Thank you
all. Right. Well, bye guys.
See ya.
The Center for Accounting Transformation provides business professionals with a network for utilizing innovations that are ready for adoption, the training and resources necessary to apply those innovations, and an opportunity to engage the talent and community needed to further the pursuit of innovative accounting practices that drive responsible and mindful business performance. Find out more at our website, www.improvetheworld.net. And if you're interested in sharing your own transformation stories, please contact us there.